Are you really interested in improving your watercolor skills? Today, let's have a look at the pre-primary lessons of watercolors. Hello friends, I am Tarit Mato and you are watching Art in Purulia. This video is aimed specially at the beginners and will talk of some basic exercises through which you can understand your colors better. If you are an experienced watercolorist but haven't tried these exercises, you should try these. You will never look at the colors the same way. You can exploit optimally and create best results with your watercolor paints only when you understand how the paints behave alone, with water and with other colors. The very efficient way to understand this is by making basic color chart or swatch charts, color mixing charts, color wheel, glazing chart, dual color chart, value chart, etc. I don't intend dealing with all of them, but the important ones, like I'll be dealing with the basic color chart, color mixing chart and glazing chart. These will be covered in a series of 3 videos. Color wheel is equally important. There is a separate video on this, so I am not making a new one. Once you go through these exercises, you will be able to understand the characteristics of each color and also get ideas as to which color to mix in a particular situation. And of course, more you practice, more you learn and more expert you become. Painting can be mastered just like any other skill with lots of interest, and you have to know the basic techniques and of course lots of practice. The watercolor paints differ in their properties quite a bit, such as the same color may have different temperature, different transparency, granulation properties and staining properties. Quite a bit of information is available on the tube, but it may not be sufficient for you to understand as to how actually that color behaves, such as transparency, which is most of the tubes generally show whether it is transparent, semi-transparent or opaque, but experiencing it yourself firsthand is a different experience altogether and there is no alternative to it. At times, paints with similar names by different manufacturers can be actually quite different. So to understand the paints that you have or a newly acquired set of paints or a tube, making swatch charts and creating mixing charts are good ways to understand them. These can be really fun ways of exploring and also can serve as reference cards later on. Most popular and useful charts you can make can be basic color chart, which we also call as palette color chart or swatch chart, then color wheel chart, color mixing chart and glazing chart. You can also try dual color mixing chart, value chart and so on, but I found these earlier 4 most useful. As I told earlier, I will not touch upon the color wheel here. I have already made a separate video on this topic and I'll leave a link in the description. In that I have explained how you can make color wheel using primary colors with both warm and cool shades. I'm sure you will like it, just have a look at it. So today first we'll see how to make basic color chart where we do individual paint swatches. Painting swatches is an excellent way to compare and get to know the characteristics of the paints. You will be able to visualize the mass tone of the paint or the thick undiluted version and how it appears when diluted with water. So let's see how you can make watercolor swatches. There are numerous ways you can make, but you can make your own template that you find most user friendly and easy. It's a good practice to paint your swatches on the same watercolor paper which you use for the watercolor paintings. Many artists do these charts on sketchbooks, but I can tell you the effects won't be same. So it's better to use the papers you generally use for watercolor paintings for better experience. I'll tell you what I do. I have divided the paints into groups of reds, yellows, blues, that is all the primaries, and mixed ones, which I call them as convenient colors, and I have used separate paper for each group. For each swatch, I have made two rectangles, one above the other, one small one on top for writing the name and the properties, and a bigger one for the actual swatch. I make a note of the paint name and brand name and the pigments used in the paint formula if they are available on the tube on the top rectangle. The paint formula may be important if you use too many different brands. I have been primarily using Camel brand, artist quality, and I also have a small box of Sennelier pan paints with just 8 colors. So I am not much interested with the formula as of now, and to make it simple I have avoided it. I paint a graded wash in the bottom rectangle so that the full range of the paint's color appearance can be seen, from fully saturated to diluted. The top of your wash should show the mass tone, that is the thick one, just out of the tube, and the bottom should be showing the lightest one, that is the tint. Increase the mass tone if needed with another pass of paint so you can get a well saturated color. The swatches can be used to reveal characteristics such as transparency, staining properties and granulation, besides getting to see the color itself, which gives the information of hue and temperature, whether warm or cool. Many times I forget by just the name as to whether the color is warm or cool, especially the blue ones, and these swatch cards help me quite a bit in knowing as to which color to use. Yellows and reds are that way much easy to understand, but blues are a bit confusing. I mark with a deep colored permanent marker a line before doing the swatch, which indicates the transparency once painted over it. I also carry out a lifting test using a wet swab or wet brush and tissue paper, which indicates the staining characteristics of the paint or the permanency of it. I do this test generally after leaving the swatches overnight, that is when it's completely dry. A non-staining paint will lift off easily, whereas a highly staining paint will be difficult to lift, and this is useful characteristics to note. For example, non-staining paints that lift up too easily may not be very good for glazing, since each new glaze of paint would lift the underlying layers of color. So you can decide which colors to use for glazing. I have already done the swatches of lemon yellow, gambus hue and yellow ochre already while I am talking, and I have written their properties on the screen. Now on I will tell the properties as I do the swatches. Burnt sienna is warm, transparent and staining paint. Burnt amber is also warm, transparent and staining. Raw amber is cool, semi-transparent and granulating. These properties you will understand once you apply the paint, and actually once they are dried also you can understand all the properties. But I am explaining here to save time at the end of the video. The primary yellow of the Sennelier pan is warm, semi-transparent and staining. The earth colors, the brown shades, raw and burnt umber and sienna, can be made by adding complementary colors and by adding red, yellow and blue in the amount required to make warm or cool shades. If you want warm shade, add red and yellow more, and if cool, blue more. This burnt umber of the pan set is also warm, semi-transparent and staining. Now we'll see the blues. We'll start with the cool blue, cerulean blue. This is semi-transparent and granulating. Blue is considered cool in general, but there are several warm shades also. These swatch cards help me a lot in a situation of confusion. Prussian blue is also cool, semi-transparent and granulating. But French ultramarine you see is warm, transparent and granulating. Cobalt blue is also warm but semi-transparent and granulating. You can mark the difference in the cool blues and the warm blues. It really sounds weird to say some blues are more blue, but it is so. The blues of the Sennelier pans also have same characteristics as the camel ones, but are rich in pigments and are brighter. But of course, you pay more for the quality. Now we'll see some convenient colors. Convenient in the sense, though you can mix and make these colors, you may find it convenient to use directly out of the tube, mainly because of two reasons. One, it may be difficult mixing some of these, and two, the mixed colors may not be bright enough. So some colors it is better to have a tube, such as magenta, rose, bright green, like permanent green, viridian, etc. There are too many shades of purples and magentas. You may be tempted to keep them all, but you are bound to get confused if you have too many of them. So stick to just a few, else best is to mix and make. This shade of bright green you can make by adding cool yellow with a touch of cool blue. Viridian is cool, transparent and granulating, but extremely lively green. Sap green is warm in the comparison, and it is semi-transparent and granulating. Hooker's green is also warm, and it's also semi-transparent but has staining properties. Both the sap green and hooker's green are good summer tree colors and can depict the foliage in shadow areas also. Payne's gray is extensively used by watercolorists to depict shadows, but Payne's gray also have warm brownish shades and cool bluish shades. You have to see which one you have, or do you have both of them. This one is cool bluish version and is semi-transparent and staining. Another color quite popular amongst watercolorists is sepia. I find it similar to burnt umber. This is semi-transparent and staining. Once you do the swatches, you can take a good look and find out a lot of interesting features about the paints which you probably never noticed. For example, let's take a look at the swatch of cerulean blue. This paint is semi-transparent, very granular and non-staining. For me personally, these properties all together make it a color which is difficult to handle. The pigments just seem to swim around on the surface of the paper without fixing, which I find unpleasant. This is due to low permanency of the paint. It's also quite opaque, making it a poor color for glazing. So you have seen how making swatches can help you in understanding the colors. As a ready to use reference card, you can make a miniature swatch card also, in which you can make small swatches and accommodate all the paints in one paper itself. Let me finish this video here itself because the video would get too long if I cover the other charts also in this. So in the next one we'll see color mixing chart, and thereafter in another video we'll see glazing chart. I hope the video will be helpful to you in understanding the paints to some extent. Stay safe and healthy. See you.